Alright, well, back from all my errands, and I'll be looking into some other stuff shortly, but I was thinking more about wrath. Because usually when I am talking about something that has more of like, I want to see this more of this, or that, versus, a bunch of woke claptrap, I have a really real sense of wrath against woke stuff. Because it is being propagated everywhere, and I'm not getting as much of my own wheelhouse is fed because of it. And that in turn makes me resent that stuff even more, where I'm going to dismiss a lot of it out of hand because it's like, oh, they're just pushing XYZ agenda or replacing the iconic with the knockoff. Which in this case, you can have some stuff inspired by the iconic archetypes, like Superman. There's tons of Superman derivatives out there. But the overall difference is I consider a knockoff a cheap tokenized, presentation of a more popular IP or something. And that doesn't get anybody to pay attention. In today's day and climate, you wouldn't be able to make something like Babylon 5. And sad to say, most people are clouded by their own political stuff, because I'll even include myself here. My political biases do cloud stuff that I do. And you know what? But the difference is I own up to what my political biases are, and I just keep going. You know, uh, this whole world is just begging to be escaped from for a while. And woke fiction does not let people escape. They want to keep hammering home whatever their political ideal is. And it's not going to happen, people. It, they keep thinking Star Trek will happen if they force enough people around to it. But stuff like Star Trek exists in a what if scenario if our technology advances far enough to do so. We don't have that luxury of having our world exist in a kind of like a Star Trek kind of setup unless the tech was there. That, and no matter how much I think about it, if you're going to go far enough into the future, I don't think people would leave all their cultural trappings behind to become like one homogenous kind of race. Even in my most utopic kind of versions of stuff, even with Uplift Protocol, everybody still has their own cultural values and their genuine sense of right and wrong attached to whatever they're doing. So it's like a conundrum. It's like, what do I do about my feelings of wrath? And how can I, instead of focusing on the wrath wolf, how can I focus on the optimistic wolf, of the two? I rather feed the optimistic side than the wrathful side. Because as I look at it, it's like, yeah, you know what? If you pirate the woke shit, I'm guessing when the shoe's on the other foot, the woke crowd is probably pirating stuff from people they don't like in order to, mock it as well. If I had to really think about it. So it'll keep seesawing back and forth. So all I can really say is if you truly do enjoy something, I guess support it. But realize if you're still supporting dead IPs in the hopes of, course correcting them, it's probably not going to happen. Um, I think probably within the next year, especially, we're going to see which kinds of empires will truly, rise or fall in terms of entertainment and IPs and everything else. I just don't know what form it's going to take, but I wouldn't be surprised if even say within the next 2 years, uh, Dead IP comics will be completely unrecognizable from what they were even 5 years ago. That's all I really gotta say about that. So I guess I'll put this in like reader adventure and topics, like the follow up to Wrath. Like Hmm. I don't even know what the title is. I'll think of something. But yeah, that is the hardest thing I try to curtail or be aware of within myself because yeah, I know I can get pretty damn wrathful, especially when I continually see stuff like Watchmen, The Boys, and everything else getting catered to. Wow, it feels like the other side of the house. We're all screaming into the void, but nobody with a big enough platform is really taking it and running with it. Like I'm talking about like where it can get a little bit of mainstream traction, not to the point where it gets corrupted, but just so it gets in front of more eyeballs. Again, conservative Inc. is useless for that because they make most of their money grifting and complaining about stuff. And but so does the other side. So do most sides. They get most of their money and their revenue from constant complaints. Whether it's about there's too much X, Y, or Z in this, oh, there's more tokenization in that. Uh, Dead IP 1 2 through 1 million is going to die. Because I'll even lump myself into this every once in a while when I'm trying to do a compare and contrast. Sometimes you just can't help but to be like, okay, I gotta compare it to something that's a recognizable cultural touchstone just to show you how much it's degraded. Ooh, get over that thing. Bad tea. Sometimes I drink tea in the afternoon and then later on I'll gulp down more coffee as I'm writing. But yeah, the only way I can see to even counteract most of this is just to keep plugging away at finding more superversive stuff. That's the only thing I can really think of right now. And to also maybe keep pointing out, like, hey, um, we have to find a better way, somehow, of networking together, connecting readers with books that they'd want to read, and where the wheelhouse of said books overlap enough to where the reader will legitimately enjoy it and not feel like it's a slug. Where it's like, oh shit, here it comes. Yeah. Because there's plenty of books that are fairly popular that have that aspect to them. And yes, I will lump Game of Thrones into that. The Fart of the Wind with Rufus. It is like you can't you can't help but compare it to what is happening across the whole entire entertainment landscape. It's like kind of like a one hit wonder where they'll milk something until it's dead, and even after it's dead, they'll zombify it and keep milking it until the desert isn't even dry. The desert has gone past all reality and has been eaten by a supernova, basically. Oh God, I wish I had kind of like a bigger cultural footprint. Uh, I wouldn't even mind using myself to kind of springboard people into the limelight if I could. It's the reason why I wish more people that did have what looks like more of a cultural pulse going on actually like, hey, let me hook you over and like here, I'll put you in the limelight for a moment just to key people in on interesting projects that are going on. Not with like not worrying about the background noise or like who hates who, guilt by association. Um, just offer a different kind of entertainment than what the mainstream is plugging away at. Because the mainstream hasn't really been connecting with its various bases in quite a while. It's why I just find myself reading older and older stuff or reading writers or things like that follow what the older stuff did. I can count on one hand, basically, anything that's been printed after like 2010 that I'm reading currently. And one of those is Sun Eater. And the other one is Which Yeah. uh, and as far as like what's considered the more recognizable side of bigger publishing houses or things like that, it just shows how topsy turvy everything is. I can't really think of any more thing else to say right now. So, with that, have a good day, everybody.